While out in the woods, the hunter comes across an injured dog tied to a tree. When he takes a closer look, he cannot hold back his tears. Deer season was Dwight's favorite time of year. The weather was fresh and invigorating, and after a week of rain, he was ready to tackle whatever fate threw at him. Hopefully, it would take the shape of a deer buck, a 150-pounder in the prime of life. But as Dwight followed the red route, his ears picked up a strange sound he could not quite place. The high-pitched whimpering came from behind a large redwood, and he rushed toward it to investigate. The sight he saw on the other side of the tree broke his heart and moved him to tears. A weary, emaciated female dog was tied to the tree on a leash so tight that it cut painfully into the skin. Her face and near side were marked with deep, angry gashes, but the worst part was the litter of newborn pups blindly seeking warmth and milk from their poor wounded mother. As a dedicated hunter and wilderness expert, Dwight had made it a habit to be well equipped for his excursions. But in this case, it was difficult to determine where to begin. The dog looked terrified of him and quickly threw her puppies behind her as she struggled to stand up. Dwight grabbed a small pack of beef jerky from his pocket and slowly approached her, letting her smell the meat. When she nibbled at it, he gently patted her to show her he meant no harm. As she calmed down, he opened up his pack, got out the Bowie knife, and got to work freeing the mama dog. He had to work very carefully to avoid injuring her, and as he laid a hand across her to hold her still, he could feel her trembling with fear beneath his fingers. He edged the Bowie knife beneath the noose and slowly sawed at the rope, cutting strand by strand until it fell away at last. He could now see that the rope had caused a pattern of broken skin that went all the way around her neck. But once freed, the mother dog totally ignored her own predicament, instead focusing all her attention on her frightened and traumatized young. Dwight waited while she sniffed each puppy and reassured them with a few licks. Lacking a bowl, Dwight emptied out his lunchbox and poured some water into it. The mother dog lapped it up within seconds, and Dwight quickly poured some more water out. The puppies squealed to get their mother's attention, and she snuffled them. There were 5 of them, but she was especially interested in a little runt whose face looked darker and a little more squashed up than the others. It did not squeal as much as the others. While she was distracted by her litter, Dwight made a furtive examination of the mother's injuries. He suspected that she might need stitches for at least one of the cuts and most likely shots to prevent infection. He had no idea how she had ended up with such injuries, but given their nature, he suspected she must have hurt herself while trying to break free. Dwight had some more gauze in his pack, and for the moment that would be better than nothing. He unwrapped some and used it to cover the worst of the wounds. Whoever had left her alone in the middle of the forest with a pregnant belly, no food, and no water had better not come back this way, he thought. Once he had finished bandaging the mother dog, he bundled up the whole litter in his parka. He turned back the way he had come and made for his all-terrain vehicle. As he had hoped, the mother trotted after him to stay with her pups. He went slowly so as not to overstrain her after her terrible ordeal. Back at the parking lot, the mother dog suddenly had second thoughts. Perhaps she had been brought to this place in a vehicle very much like his own, and now considered that her rescuer might not be trusted after all. Dwight opened a door and laid the parka with the puppies down on the back seat. The mother howled in distress, and at the sound of her voice, the tiny puppies also began to squeal again. "It's okay," he said. "I'm not going to hurt you. I want to help you." But the mother dog just got more and more agitated. He tried to nudge her toward the car, but she leaped up on her hind legs and jumped a few yards away from the car. Distressed at their mother's behavior, the puppies wriggled all over. They were now yelping loudly, and the mother stood a little way from his vehicle, barking up Dwight as if he was the villain of the story. Then he remembered that he had another bargaining chip in his favor, a generous stash of his own homemade deer jerky. He had never met a canine who could resist it, and since the dog had literally devoured the small snack he had offered her before, he was pretty confident that she was going to like this too. He retrieved a few pieces from the bag. At his approach, she let out a volley of barks. Dwight took one piece and tossed it at her. Then he turned around. It was up to her now. By the time he approached the puppies again, the mother dog was walking alongside him. He praised her and let her have another piece of jerky. This time, she took it from his hand. He praised her again, then turned around to check on the puppies. They yelped for their mother, and her head turned askew to listen to their voices. Dwight gave her another piece of jerky. Although she still appeared slightly conflicted, she was clearly making up her mind that this human was perhaps to be trusted, despite the fact that he drove a suspicious vehicle. Dwight got some more jerky from the bag and tossed a few onto the back seat where the puppies were. The mother dog let out a few yelps of anxiety, then leaped onto the back seat. He closed the door behind her and got into the driver's seat. Dwight's first stop was the Parkside Animal Clinic, where he had another challenge persuading the mama dog to enter. She really seemed to have trust issues, and little wonder considering how cruelly she had been treated by her previous owner. He had to get some more deer jerky to do the trick. The vet checked for postpartum complications and also examined each of the puppies. He was particularly concerned about one of them, the one with the slightly squashed-up face, and advised keeping it at the clinic for at least a few days. The vet gave Dwight a nutritional supplement and specially formulated food for the mother dog, as well as a formula to add to the puppy feeding. He treated the mother dog's wounds, which fortunately only required a few stitches. With the right food and care, the mother dog recovered quickly. Her puppies were all healthy, even the poor squashed-faced puppy pulled through, much to everyone's surprise. As the mother dog recovered, Dwight was able to focus on her hidden talents. Her intelligence and natural speed made her a natural choice as a hunting dog. A friend of his who trained hunting dogs advised him to bring her over every week for training. The mother dog passed every test, and both men realized that she had been a hunting dog before. Perhaps she had been abandoned because her pregnancy had slowed her down. Strangely enough, her previous owner hadn't realized he had a gold mine in his hands. Because of her talent, her pups were also quick to be adopted. They could have been sold at a steep price, but Dwight decided against it. The mother dog stayed with him, of course. Without a shadow of a doubt, that first bag of jerky must have played a huge role in her loyalty. She recovered well from her wounds, although there was a scar at her throat that remained visible for a long time after. Although Dwight never did find out who had left her tied up, there were one or two clues. This was a small community, and there weren't many hunters around who brought dogs with them. Although she eventually showed no hesitation getting into Dwight's vehicle, she could not be persuaded to like anyone else who drove that brand of vehicle. Once, at a service station, a leather-clad young guy and his girlfriend sauntered past. Dwight's dog had her hackles up and was growling softly. He was tempted to jump out of the vehicle and confront them, but ultimately he just stroked her face and gave her another piece of deer jerky. Fortunately, she stopped growling at once. In time, the painful memory of their first encounter would turn into a joyous occasion, and they would face the future without reservations. What a bittersweet story. Would you have confronted the people at the service station? If you have a similar story about a pet you rescued from a horrific situation, tell us in the comments. We'd love to hear it. For now though, we're out of here. We'll see you in the next video.